Welcome, everybody, to the Florida Panthers 2023-2024 season review, where I can confidently tell you this from the bottom of my heart, that we ended this season as champions. This will not be said often, so I'm going to embrace it when I say this. We ended the season as champions. And since yesterday, when I did post a video of the full Stanley Cup Final Game 7 recap, I was in a loss of words. It was a really, really good season. And all the pain, all the suffering this franchise has been to, whatever the game swept in 96 finals, not making playoffs in the majority of times when we don't even get past the first round. Finally, in 2022, we were able to get past the first round against the Capitals, only to get swept by the Lightning. And no shame in losing to the Lightning now, as the Demons are exercised 2 years later. But then a year later, we do go back to the finals, beating 3-1 comeback against the Bruins, beating the Maple Leafs, sweeping Carolina, and losing 5 against Vegas. This is meant to be a redemption year, and it was. Everything what I just said, 96 Stanley Cup game swept, not making playoffs for some of the times, majority of times, relocation rumors, 5,000 or less making it to the games in this season. 10 years ago, it was like 7,000. It was horrible. It was horrible. What a horrible time to be a Panthers fan. Making the playoffs in 16, making the playoffs in 12, and then it starts off this technically a playoff streak from 2020 all the way to now, from the qualifying round. You know, August 3rd? I don't remember what day it was. It might have been August 7th. This was a time where we make a change. We hire Bill Zito. Then we make the playoffs again, second straight year. Didn't get much anywhere. We lost in 6 against Tampa. Then, the following season, we were President's Trophy winners. Finally get past in the first round against the Capitals, only get swept by the Lightning. And then, I'll repeat what I said just now. Back in the playoffs, 4 straight seasons now. Beating the Bruins from a 3-1 comeback in 7. That was for Haggies. Nick Cousins ending off the Toronto Maple Leafs season in Toronto. And Florida sweeping the Carolina Hurricanes and losing against Vegas in 5. And all this, what I just said, will lead to this season review. This is redemption year. Was redemption year. What happened all the way to the end? Well, you already know all this, but I'm going to give it quick and brief. Just trying to get under 30 minutes. Anyway, let's get going, folks. Redemption year. We made some decisions. Getting Ekman Larson, who has been really good. Dmitry Kulakov coming back, great pickup. Kula, great pickup as well. And folks from the Checkers. And Florida Everblades. By the way, congratulations to the Florida Everblades for winning yet another Kelly Cup. It's a shame that they had to leave us, and we got Savannah Ghosts. I think that's Ghost Pirates or something like that. But either way, I'm proud of them. So let's get started. So we started the season with the 2-0 shutout from the Minnesota Wild. A bad start of the season. I was in California when this happened, so it was kind of like a suckish Wi-Fi. But we lost this game 2-0 against the Wild. Didn't get any shots in. Second game, still in California, where I was in Mexico when I was watching this. They were able to provide pretty good Wi-Fi. They did not beat. They finally got the first point of the season, first goal, and it comes from Sam Reinhart. It's kind of convenient how he started, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on. But he starts the Florida Panthers goals from Reinhart, from him. We finally took the lead, but we lost it. Close comeback, but we lost 6-4 against the Winnipeg Jets. Then we go to New Jersey. I'm still in California, but then again, I'm at the LAX when I'm watching it. To play against New Jersey, we had a 4-0 lead. New Jersey was coming back, and we still able to prevail against them 4-3 against New Jersey in Prudential Center, and I was still in LAX. Finally flying back, that's where I did the recap right here. Then we play against Toronto, our first home game of the season. They were putting out the new goal song, which turned out to be Panthers Pulse, and it grew on me. I didn't like it at first. I was like, I was 50-50 on it, but it grew on me. But anyway, we won this game against the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-1. We finished it off with the empty netter just before the clock hit 0 in the third period. The next game, Vancouver Canucks. At that point, I'm like, we lost to the Canucks. That was an embarrassing loss, but then they turned out a pretty good team. So no shame in losing to Canucks now. But the mistakes were made by Bobrovsky, and just were not able to get this comeback up. This was a breast cancer night too. 5-3 loss against the Canucks. The next game, they were doing a frozen frenzy thing, kind of like the NFL red zone. We played against Sharks. We were losing 1-0, but we came back and we beat them. Gabriel, my cat, was playing with the hockey puck, wanted to assist the Florida Panthers, and he did just that. Next game, 4 days later, there was like a little mini break. Losing to Seattle Kraken 2-0, but the Panthers came back. Kachuk scoring goals, and in a really, really rare mistake. Really rare mistake made by the Seattle's goalie. I think it's Joey Decord, where he tried to tend the puck, but the puck ricocheted off the wall with the favorable bounce off the wall to the Panthers, and that goes right in with the empty net. Not the empty net situation. It was a lucky bounce from the wall, which ended the game, winning 3-2 against the Seattle Kraken. Absolutely terrific stuff. 2 days later, play against the Boston Bruins. We could have won this game, but we lost in overtime. That was bad. Tough loss. Then we go to Detroit, where Bobrovsky had a brick wall type of game against Detroit Red Wings, and we won this game 2-0. The following game against the Blackhawks, we lost to them 5-2. That was when we finally got to see the first time Connor Bedard, who is a big talking point throughout. He's gonna have a really, really bright future. Bedard, I can already feel it. This game, Columbus, we had 3-0 lead, losing the lead, but then when they made the goalies, they had that goalie switch, momentum shifted to Columbus, where they took the lead 4-3. Then they tied it near the end of the game in the third period, forcing overtime, and then beating them 5-3 in overtime. Shouldn't come down to it, but it did. The next game, Washington, on TNT, I think, where it was a pretty good game, pretty tight game, but eventually Reinhart finishes the game off in overtime, 4-3. Terrific. Then the next game that we play against the Carolina Hurricanes, where we beat them 5-2. Impressive game. Then the next game, it was on NHL Network. We play against the Chicago Blackhawks, and we beat them 4-3. Bedard scored 2 goals, as far as I remember. But the Panthers were able to prevail, and they beat them on Football Sunday, which I don't remember if the Dogs were playing that week. I don't think they were. Then ESPN Plus Hockey Night, they go to the West Coast, to California, to play against San Jose Sharks, and they beat them 5-3. That was Anthony Stollart's game. Pretty unnecessarily frustrating game, but we were able to pull through. And my birthday, we played against the Los Angeles Kings, and of course, no one the Panthers, not doing well at that arena. They lost to them 2-1. But then the next game, where Montour and Ekblad were able to make their debuts, because they didn't start the season off at all because they were injured. They made their debuts in this game, and we beat Frank Petrano, Ratko Gudas in this game 2-1. And yeah, there was this one point where Anaheim could have had this goal, and the referee said no. I'm still baffled with that. I'll take it now, but geez, that was a rough call. That was a pretty rough call. That was bad. But still, we won this game 2-1. Taking this California trip to 2-1, I'll take it. Then fly back home to Sunrise, where we would play against a eventual Stanley Cup opponent, Edmonton Oilers, where Barkov did not play in this game. He did not play in this game. Instead, Mikula gets his multi-goal game, but so is Connor McDavid. I mean, of course, McDavid would get 2 goals in, and Evander Kane. It was a really, 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 really tight game. And again, all this without Alexander Barkov. And this is against Calvin Pickard, or his last name. This is when Bobrovsky stopped a breakaway. Or not, it was a breakaway. No, it was a penalty shot by McDavid. But still, even without Barkov, this is before they made that coaching change, Edmonton. Florida ends up winning this game 5-3 against the Edmonton Oilers in that game, the regular season game. I'm not talking about Stanley Cup Finals yet. The next game, they play against the Boston Bruins. Not much to comment there. It was a 3-1 loss on national television. It sucked. Then the following game, Black Friday, we lost to Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuck was a pretty brick wall. 3-0 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. Then go up to Canada, the eastern side of Canada, where we beat them 5-0. That was the really battling all the brawls. It was awesome. Kachuk brothers. Apparently, there's a family rule where you cannot beat each other up on a hockey game. Then a game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. We should have won this game. I still don't think Emma Rodriguez double tap. I really don't think so. I stand by it. Anyway, they played so angry against the Montreal Canadiens, and they beat them 5-1. Stolarz was on net. Pretty impressive. The next game, losing to the Islanders 4-3. Then the next game on TNT, I think was it Kenny Albert? I forgot his last name. I think it was Albert. Was calling this game. Had a pretty good calling in this game. This game, stressful, but the game was awesome. It was an awesome game if you're neutral. The Florida Panthers versus Dallas Stars, beating them 5-4. Dallas was coming back. Ottinger was pretty good in that game. Bobrovsky was also really good. Or so I was saying with the shots in. They were who has to be the winning side of this? Both goalies, fairly decent, I would say. There you go. I'll take what I said. They were pretty good, but Florida comes out in upper hands. Really great game. But Florida wins that one, which makes it even sweeter. The next game, Pittsburgh Penguins beating them 3-1. Then the next game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. That game was also on NHL Network. That was a game. That was that time where I went to Brooklyn to watch the misery of the Miami Hurricanes. We don't talk about that. But this game, we beat them 5-2. Then we go to the West, to the Cascadia region. Against Seattle Kraken, we lost that game 4-0. This was when they had that terrible stretch of losing side and getting shut out. 2 times in a row, they got shut out 4-0 against Seattle, then Vancouver. And Vancouver, that was that Roberto Luongo's night in Vancouver. And we lost 4-0. And that was that horrible goaltending by Bobrovsky in that game. And Vancouver was just taking advantage of it. But yet, in the next game, they did well against Edmonton, our eventual Stanley Cup opponent. We go to Edmonton, Alberta, and we beat them 5-1. That part I don't understand. If you're playing terrible, how do you play so well against Edmonton? Where they're finally starting to find their identity at that point, at least. McDavid didn't, actually McDavid did get his point in with Zach Hyman, but Barkov did play in this game, and I don't know, but Florida with that bounce back win against Edmonton Oilers, the regular season Edmonton Oilers. This is still against Calvin Pickard. We never got C. Stuart Skinner yet, so that's it with the Edmonton Oilers regular season. We beat them 2-0 in this regular season alone. We win this game 5-1, and the next game against Huberdeau's Calgary Flames down south of Alberta, and of course I don't know if we could ever win in that arena. Calgary Flames beating us 3-1. Then we go back home from a dreadful trip from Seattle through the west side of Canada. And we lost to the Blues 4-1. There was this one goal where it bounces off the wall, then it goes to the back of the net, and it turned out to be a pretty good goal. So a rough stretch from that point on. However, after that loss against St. Louis Blues, Florida, with that angry 9-winning streak, starts against Vegas. The Vegas Golden Knights, beating them 4-2 in Sunrise. This is when the Panthers are finally starting to find their true identity. A dog, cat, panther type of team. They're not going to take shit from anybody anymore. So they became the villains of the story, beating people up, pushing, hitting, pissing other teams off, and it's working for a while. They did that against Vegas. Christmas time. Then after Christmas, we play against the Lightning up in Tampa, and we beat them 3-2. That was an impressive win already as it is after beating Vegas. Then coming back to play against the New York Rangers, who eventually became the President's Trophy winners, and we beat them 4-3 in that game against Jonathan Quick. Not Shesterkin, Jonathan Quick. He made that incredible save in this game. In that game, I will say that. Then the next game after, we play against the Canadiens. Stolarz was at net, and that was our final game of 2023 calendar year. We beat them 4-1. This is the 4-game winning streak. Then, off to the West we go. Played against Arizona Coyotes, where we go on a 5-game winning streak there to beat them 4-1. This was when that insane brawl happened when Nick Cousins got hurt, and that blood loss never went away. And they eventually meet again when they had that brawl happen. Then, 4-1 again. This time, even freaking sweeter. Up in the desert against the Vegas Golden Knights. We beat them 4-1. Finally, I can say this with certainty. We finally beat Vegas in Las Vegas for the first time ever. Thank God. If as much as I'm still salty about that Stanley Cup loss. At that point, they deserved it. We're going to move on to this season. This is a redemption year. But finally, we were able to beat them in Vegas. That's good enough for me. Then, that's a 6-game win streak. Even sweeter, we go east to play against Colorado. And what a game. We start off 3-0, losing the lead with 3-3 tie. And then they would eventually take the lead, and then they would not stop. We will win this game 8-4 in this game. 8-4. This was when Sam Reinhart was scoring his hat trick. The following game is against St. Louis Blues, when we beat them 5-1. Finally beating the St. Louis Blues in St. Louis after years of tormented from that building. And this is when Matthew Tkachuk scores a natural hat trick. If you guys don't know what natural hat trick is, it's when you score 3 points, 3 goals, whatever sport it may be, in the same period, same something. If it's football, 3 touchdowns in a single quarter, natural. So Matthew Tkachuk did that in what was his hometown. That was when Keith Tkachuk was playing in this team. It was awesome. It was incredible. This was the 8-game winning streak. Then the next game, struggling against Los Angeles, but in the third quarter, Matthew Tkachuk would tie it up near the end of the game to make it 2-2. And then that forces overtime. And then right just before the clock hits 0, Reinhart finishes the game off against Los Angeles to beat them 3-2 in overtime with like 9-8 milliseconds left on the clock. It was awesome. Steve Goldstein had one of his best calls ever in his broadcasting career. Ever. And he made that call. It was awesome. And to put the cherry on the cake, let's go home, baby. It's always going to be my favorite call from Steve Goldstein. And that is a 9-game win streak. And unfortunately, that came to a crashing end as New Jersey came in town and beat us 4-1. Stolarz was pretty good in that game as well. Then, barely losing to Anaheim in overtime. That sucked. Red Wings beating us somehow, some way. Dylan Larkin with 3-2 overtime win. Then, Minnesota comes in town to beat us 6-4. That was when we were coming back. And they were subbing off. Let me double check real quick. They were subbing off their goaltender. I I believe their goaltenders was Gustafson, and then was it Gustafson? No, I think it was Fleury. Fleury started the game off, and then they came in, and Gustafson came in for Fleury. There we go. But that was a 4-game losing streak after a 9-game winning streak. That was good. That was gonna suck. Now I have all these racing thoughts like, what are we gonna do with this? They were at that President's Trophy type of caliber season. Then they go to Nashville, finally conquering the losing streak to beat them 4-1 in Nashville. I'll take it. And then go back to Florida to play against the Arizona Coyotes. A couple of fights start off the game. To start off on the face-off between Lomberg and Jack McBain, and then Gaudrevic and O'Brien would start off with the fight as well. It was a grueling battle to start off. It was all for Nick Cousins for everything, and we beat them 6-2. An angry game, another one of those angry games. Then we go to Pittsburgh, where we could have won this game in overtime or regulation, but shootout would do. A shootout would do just that, as I believe it was Reinhardt who would put that finishing touch in, and with a filthy goal to put that one to the back of net. Florida wins this one in the shootout 3-2. And then we go to Long Island to play against the Islanders. And we end this game. 3-2 win over the New York Islanders. In Long Island, Ekman Larson would put that finishing touch into the back of the net. This would, as the winning streak would start again, and as that 9-game winning streak would start, you know what streak that was continuing? The road wins. The road win victories were continuing for the Florida Panthers. And they were winning. They were winning road games. And I believe they were matching up. I think they were tying up the NHL record with 11 as far as I remember. But anyway, All-Star break was happening. We can take a break for a bit. At least I didn't want to take a break. I was having so much fun watching Florida Panthers hockey. We would come back, play against the Flyers. We lose to them 2-1. So pretty bad. Then we play against the Capitals. We had that revenge, or not revenge. We had that bounce back win against the Capitals, 4-2 in that game. But one of the more impressive wins was playing against the Colorado Avalanche at home. They beat them 4-0. That was when the hockey guy finally starts to put us at number 1 in the power rankings, his power rankings. I'll take it. Then they go to Pittsburgh on Valentine's Day to play against the Penguins, winning that game 5-2. That continues the road streak. Then they go to Buffalo, beat them back-to-back 4-0. Then they go to Tampa. Not a good start to start off 1-0, but eventually they scored 9 straight. And then winning that game 9-2 against the Lightning at Tampa. Then they go back to Sunrise. I shouldn't say Florida because they were already in Florida. They beat Ottawa 3-2 in overtime. And then the road winning streak comes to a crashing halt from the Carolina Hurricanes from Sebastian Aho's breakaway, where we could have had that 1-0 lead if they didn't disallow a goal. That was bad. That was bad. We lost that game 1-0 to Carolina. Tough loss. Capitals with a bounce back win against again to beat them 3-2 in overtime. I'll take it. ESPN Plus Hockey Night, not a good start, but eventually Florida was able to pick up the pace and beat Buffalo Sabres 3-2. Then, shootout win against the Montreal Canadiens, 10 off February. Then we start off March, going up to Detroit to play against the Red Wings, 4-0 shutout. Then, go to Madison Square Garden, where we finally were able to beat the Rangers in Madison Square Garden after 5 years. We beat them 4-2. This was when Barkov had that juggling goal to Reinhardt. That was awesome. Then they go across the river to the west side of the river. Excuse me. Play against the Devils to beat them 5-3. Then they go back home and play against the Flyers. This is around the time Gustav Forsling was signed 8-year extension with the Florida Panthers, and Florida trade for Vladimir Tarasenko, and then picking up Kyle Okposo during that process, and at the end it became all worth it. But then the next two games I went to, Philadelphia beats us 2-1. That was a heartbreaking goal. That was a heartbreaker. But then the next game, Stanley's birthday, we beat Jonathan Huberdeau and his Calgary Flames 5-1 in this one. There were some fights there, but Florida with the 5-1 victory over the Calgary Flames, I was happy to see that happen. And I'm not gonna lie, I was happy to see Huberdeau again. And he was one of my childhood heroes in the Florida Panthers. He really was. It's still sad to see him go, but at the end, we won the trade. So, next game, Dallas Stars. We were losing 3-0. We were losing 3-0 against the Dallas Stars. But then the second period to the third period, they were scoring and they found the way. They found a way to somehow be able to come back, and they beat us 4-3. Or, no, I didn't beat us. We beat them 4-3 in Dallas. And then the next game, we go to Raleigh, Carolina, where we lost this game 4-0, and that was an ugly game. An ugly game, to say the least. I remember, the fans were saying, do the research with the names and stuff like that, like blah, blah, blah. I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, or something. Like, do the research. Clearly, you had watched the games. That night alone was rough. Not because of the fans, but because of personal issues. And then, I'm going to show this off. This was the night where Carolina posted this. I don't know if you can see it. Carolina Hurricanes posted this, saying, have fun riding the wave from your Stanley Cup final last year. Oh, wait, with 3 dots. That aged perfectly, did it? Maybe that woke up the Florida Panthers. Well, not quite. Eventually. Anyway, the next game was on ESPN Plus Hockey Night against the Tampa Bay Lightning, where we lost then 5-3. I feel like from that point in my life, I lost the mojo, lost the magic. It was a rough time for me. But we lost this game 5-3. Florida was coming back, but there's with no Pavel. Vasilevsky was still pretty good. ESPN Plus Hockey Night again, 2010's night. Don't do that ever again, because that was bad. We wore white, and that was bad. We lost this game 3-0 shutout loss from the Nashville Predators, and then we were losing again against the New York Rangers in a shootout fashion. Savannah with those filthy goals in the shootout, and we should have had that game. We just didn't do it. Next game, Stollarts playing great hockey. We beat the Philadelphia Flyers 4-1. This is when Reinhart scored his 50th goal. Then we lost to Boston Bruins. We had this cold streak for a while. We lost to the Boston Bruins 4-3. We should have had this game. And then we lost to the Islanders next. Detroit Red Wings, we beat them in a shootout. That was where Chris Rudy was making horrendous decisions. Then we go to Toronto, play against the Maple Leafs. We lost to them 6-4. And then terrible loss against the Montreal Canadiens, 5-3. And then we had that 6-0 shutout against Ottawa Senators. Not much fighting there, unfortunately. Well, first period it was. Overtime loss again in TD Garden against the Boston Bruins. That sucked. And we beat the Ottawa Senators at home. This is when we finally had that. Finally starting to wake up, winning some games where it mattered. We lost 4 home games in a row, which ended our season with this. 2-0 win against the Ottawa Senators. 4-0 win against the Columbus Blue Jackets. 3-2 win over the Buffalo Sabres in overtime. And then to wrap it all up, we beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in a regular season finale 5-2 in Sunrise, Florida. And at that point, we were going to play against Toronto Maple Leafs, or so I thought. Because in the same night where we beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, Ottawa was beating Boston Bruins that night and somehow getting an upset at TD Garden Ottawa Senators. And that led to Toronto locking the series against the Bruins instead of Florida. And, man, the rest was history from that point on. So instead of playing the Maple Leafs, we were playing against the Lightning. And our luck and historic facts with the Lightning, we were not able to get by them. In the last few seasons, we were not able to do anything. They even swept us in our President Trophy year. So that was pretty different. Meanwhile, for Toronto, same old history, I guess. Anyway, we go against the Lightning. Playoff time! So with the regular season alone, we finished the regular season 52 wins, 24 losses, and 6 losses, which adds up to 110 points. 110 points. Amazing. That's our regular season record. So again, and one more thing before I mention it. Because of the fact that we beat the Maple Leafs in Ottawa, beating Boston, we were Atlantic Division champions. So anyway, playoff time. We were playing against the cross-state rival between Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. The first game, we beat them 3-2. We beat them. Was this game 1? Yeah, game 1. We beat them 3-2. Where we had the empty netter. Stamkos with the 10-second left was scoring that goal. The next game, game 2. Again, 3-2 lead. This time, Tampa actually did tie the game up with Brayden Point, Steven Stamkos. Verhaeghe would put that finishing touch into the overtime to win the series, to lead the series through 2-0. This was when Bobrovsky made that insane save of his career. Basically, in the right side, had that lunge back to save a puck from the Lightning players. Absolutely, oh wow, it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm still stunned from that save to this day. Then we go to Tampa to play against the Lightning again, to beat them 3-2. This is when Tampa finally takes the lead for the first time in the series. But we came back, we beat them 5-3 to lead the series 3-0. Yeah, so maybe don't lead 3-0 all the time. Because the next game, Tampa was playing desperation hockey. It kind of worked. Stamkos was playing good hockey. Florida nearly ties it up, but they just were not able to tie anything up. And the Lightning beat us in that game 6-3 in game 4. Then in game 5, we finished them off 6-1 against the Lightning. Goalie interference calls were challenged, and the rest was history. And then this is when John Cooper made that weird strategy to pull Vasilevsky pretty early on, and that led to 2 empty netters. So we beat the Lightning in 5 games. Finally, we can finally say something about that, even though it's not much, but that led to the run. So we were trying to figure out who we're going to play against next. Toronto anyway, if they can somehow pull this off, or eventually the Boston Bruins, and no surprise there. The Boston Bruins were able to finish off the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 again. That was when Pastrnak would finish them off. First game, we started first blood. Boston scored 5 straight. Ugly started the playoff series, and I had bad feelings about this series already. The next game, game 2, I went to this game. That was when my voice was destroyed after this game. Florida beats them 6-1 in this game. 6-1 with a shorthanded goal, power play goal, Barkov, Montour. Fights were brewing everywhere. We pissed off the Boston Bruins so freaking much. It was awesome. And then Tkachuk pushing the face of David Pastrnak. Then the next 2 games, we go to Boston. We beat them 6-2. I was at Funky's Buddha's at that place in Oakland Park. It was awesome. It was awesome. People were so incredible in that place. Absolutely amazing people. Then the next game, losing 2-0, then Barkov would find a way to get that go-ahead goal to lead the series 3-1. Oh shit. Now I have some weird thoughts. I'm having some weird thoughts with this series now. Considering that we beat them with the 3-1 comeback, I don't know if I want them to come back from 3-1 deficit to beat us. That would suck. I go to Orlando, because I'm going to a game the night after. And they beat us 2-1 in Sunrise. I was in Orlando. I should have went to this game, but I don't think it matters now. Paul Maurice with that cursing profanity towards his players, trying to wake them up. They did. And this is when they had that goalie interference fiasco. That was from game 4. Then game 5, okay, yeah, we're even this one. And then Sam Bennett became public enemy number 1 in Boston. Pushing March in, and I saw the replay again, and I will say this: yeah, that's what he does. I do apologize for it, but it's not our fault that Sam Bennett wants to win. Anyway, we go back to Boston for game 6. I was at the practice facility. It was awesome. Boston leading 1-0. Then the next 2 goals by Lundell and Forsling, and the rest was history. We were able to finish off Boston in Boston again. This time not for 3-1 comeback, but a commanding defensive stops against the Boston Bruins. And we beat them 2-1, and more importantly, we beat them in 6 games. Again, ending their season in Boston twice in a row to go back to the Eastern Conference Finals to play against the New York Rangers, the President's Trophy winners. Having that scare from their potential 3 reverse sweep from the Carolina Hurricanes, and they survived in 6. So they play against Florida. Game 1 from a 3-0 win in Madison Square Garden. This is when Lafreniere had that own goal. Then the next 2 games ended off in overtime. Barclay Goodrow was the one that ended off game 2 in overtime. Then in game 3, we lost that game 5-4. That was when I was so pissed off. The defending was not great. And then you allow someone who doesn't score at all, Alex Wenberg, of all players, to tip it in by Bobrovsky to lose that series lead 2-1. Then the next game, another overtime. This time, Reinhart buries it by Shesterkin. And Shesterkin, I don't want to take away from that. He was a really impressive goalie. He was a juggernaut. He had to figure it out somehow. Then we go back to New York City to play against them. Who's going to take a 3-2 lead? Florida would take that 3-2 lead, and then we go back home. June hockey. At least there's June hockey for the Rangers. June hockey. Who's going to win this? Are they going to force Game 7, or are we going to go to Stanley Cup Final? Short answer: Tarasenko would put that finishing touch in to send us back to the Stanley Cup Final for the 2nd straight season. New York was going to make this comeback with the empty netter. I believe it was Panarin that would score that goal, but Florida would hold on and go back to Stanley Cup Final, beating the President's Trophy winner again for the 2nd straight season. Not the Boston Bruins, but this time the New York Rangers. And I think with this series, they were definitely a headache, but it all comes down to defense, and Bobrovsky was so good. And they did pretty good. So finally, to the Stanley Cup Final. Once again, we talk about this. To our Stanley Cup opponent, Edmonton Oilers. I already talked about that we beat them in the regular season twice. And that was against Callum Picard. Now we play against Stuart Skinner. In the first game, Verhaeghe would start off the goals. Rodriguez would be really good, and Losry who didn't play last year's finals, would play this one. He gets the empty netter, take the one series lead in the series. So first time ever franchise history, we would take the series lead in the final. So that's great. Then game 2, losing 1-0. I believe the person who scored was Ekholm. McDavid and Bouchard would get the points in. Mikula would tie it up, and then Florida Panthers played angry in the 3rd period because Draisaitl had to do a dirty move, punching Barkov right here. I thought they broke his jaw. Personally, I thought they broke his jaw. This is when finally Rodriguez would get the the power play goal. That would ultimately end this game 4-1 against Edmonton at home. So good. First 2 games start off at home. Then we take our long trip up to Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta. In our minds are thinking this: is Barkov going to play? Our goal is to split the series up in Alberta. Game 3, We beat them 4-1. Or so I thought. From the third period alone, they're finally starting to figure out where the shots have to go. They were making this comeback, and Florida just held up. Barkov scored this game, and he would play this game. So, Florida wins this one 4-3, take the 3-0 series lead. And all they needed was one more win to finally winning it all. Could they do it? Sweeping? Well, the answer is no, because the next game, Edmonton beat the crap out of us 8-1 in Game 4. Making that goalie switch from Bobrovsky to Stolarz. That was rough. So we had that goal to split the series lead. But now I'm starting to have racing thoughts. Because after Game 5, where we lost to them 5-3 in Game 5, that was bad. Ekman-Larsson with that nice shot, an empty netter would have from McDavid. McDavid finally started to get some shots in. And Zach Hyman, Draisaitl couldn't get the score in. But man, Matthew Tkachuk with that diamond save. But it didn't matter because McDavid would score after this one. So now we lead Series 3-2. And then Game 6, we lost 5-1. Barkov will be the only scorer for the Florida Panthers. I had all these racing thoughts, like, we're actually going to freaking do it. We're going to be in a wrong side of history. All the pain, all the suffering that this franchise has endured for 30 years, this would have been the worst of it all, to blow a 3-0 lead against Edmonton and losing the series 4-3 from the reverse sweep. Then, Game 7. And I can proudly tell you that did not happen. Verhaeghe starts off, Mark with another breakaway, and these breakaways would be such a headache from Edmonton to keep giving up. But then the final goal of the year, of the season in NHL. Remember what I said back in the 3-minute mark? I forgot what it was. Against Winnipeg. Sam Reinhart begins the season with the goal for Florida Panthers. 2 nights ago, in the Stanley Cup Final in Game 7, Sam Reinhart would be the last player to score for the Florida Panthers. And this will wind up being a game winner for the Stanley Cup Finals. As for the rest of the game, Bobrovsky became the great wall of Florida, forcing the puck to be stuck at that corner. And Florida, finally, for the first time ever in franchise history, hoisting the Stanley Cup Final and finally winning, for the first time ever, Stanley Cup. They are champions for the first time ever. I'm not going to say this often, but I'm gonna say it again. The Florida Panthers are your Stanley Cup champions. They are the NHL champions, and I'm so happy to say it. Barkov, the first Finnish captain to hoist the trophy, and I'm so freaking happy. I'm so happy that this happened. So that's the review, and yeah, I understand this is 43 freaking minutes. So a couple more things, and then we'll wrap it up. What went right for the Florida Panthers? The scoring, the defense, and the goaltending. It was absolutely amazing. They are absolutely amazing to see. What went wrong? Well, I will say this in half and half. 50-50, I'm going to say this with one thing. Special teams. Power plays was not good. They were not good for the majority of the season. Penalty kills, almost as great as they were, especially in the playoffs. I believe the special teams needs to be a little bit better for the next coming season. And I'm going to say this for the power play. The power play especially, they need to improve it tremendously. Penalty kill, I thought it was pretty good. So, sure, they had those moments. They're not going to kill every single penalty. But I thought the penalty kill was pretty good. Against a team like Tampa, against a team like Boston, against a team like the Rangers. And yeah, I'll even throw in, I'm going to even throw in the Penguins. They did their parts. And Edmonton. Now, they gave up a couple of shorthanded goals. Shorthanded goals was another thing that was a problem for the Florida Panthers power play. That needs to improve tremendously. Absolutely. So, what now? What now, champs? What now? So, here's my question now. What's going to happen with Sam Reinhart? He's going to be unrestricted free agent. He needs to come back. I personally think he needs to come back to the Florida Panthers. And he even said himself, I want to stay in Florida. Give him the money. And maybe you can let some of the players go, like Montour or something like that. If you manage to keep Bennett, that'll be great. That'll be awesome. If we keep Bennett, oh man, all hands on deck. But Reinhart, Bennett, Verhaeghe, they need to stay. I personally think they need to stay. Ekblad, I'm happy that he got a ring. But what do we do with him? What do we do with Ekblad? And what do we do with Montour? Those are the big questions. Kyle Oposo getting his first ring as amazing as it was. Somebody called us the Florida Sabres. That's kind of funny because they're saying that, you know, some of the Sabres players like Reinhart and Oposo were playing tremendous hockey in Florida. They got their first ring. And it's also funny too that Florida Panthers got their first ring faster than the Buffalo Bills did. Just saying. But yeah, folks, there you go. That's a season review of the Florida Panthers. If you like this video, this long video, hit that like button and subscribe for more content. It's been an honor and pleasure to recap everything with you guys, talking to you about this Florida Panthers team. It was great. It was so much fun to do so. And I'm happy that I covered every game for you guys. And honestly, I'm ready to do it again. Let's do it again. Let's go get this cup again. Let's defend it. That's going to do it for this video, folks. If you have enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe for content because Miami Chiefs is back. When he does, he'll be right there with the free entertainment you deserve. Draft is coming up. I think it's coming up Friday. So I might do a draft recap there and there. But yeah, we'll see what happens, folks. And let's go Panthers. Champions, baby. And I'll see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.